Andalusia was extremely fortunate to be able to partner with the Revolutionary City to upload and digitize the entirety of the Captain Nicholas Biddle letter book.
The letter book is filled with letters to and from Nicholas Biddle during the 1770s up until 1778.
Over the course of about 100 years, the letters were passed down and actually lost twice. So it's exciting that the letters are now at Andalusia and digitized and will never be lost again. Charles and Nicholas Biddle, as young men in their teens, start off together at sea as midshipmen on their brother-in-law's ship. So their careers at sea start together, but then quickly after that, their paths diverge.
Nicholas Biddle is the captain of the Doria, but what is really exciting about this letter book is that he has a lot of family correspondence. So you really see his personality shine through these letters that are to his sisters and his brothers, and they're making jokes.
So Nicholas is in the Royal Navy in 1771, and then by 1773, he is actually a part of the Phipps expedition to the Arctic. From there, he actually returns back to Pennsylvania and begins to get involved with the revolutionary effort. Quickly, by December of 1775, he's already being appointed a captain of the Doria for the first Continental Navy fleet.
So the Continental Navy, comes into being sort of courtesy of John Adams, who establishes this idea that we need to have a fleet. And a fleet that reports to Congress and that, will engage the British. Because obviously the fear is that the British will blockade every port and that America will eventually be cut off. That being said, the challenge was that there was no real profession of arms that was uniquely American. Those who had military training had it as part of the Royal Navy or the Royal Army or the Royal Marines. So it was not as though today we have the Naval Academy, it cranks out officers who serve. In the 18th century, it was a matter of finding, talented, generally young men who were ready to undertake what was an incredibly risky venture.
The fledgling Continental Navy was no match for the Royal Navy, but instead they could act as a band of official privateers in a sense, going after British merchant vessels, taking prizes, and taking away the ability for the British to bring in supplies for their army. And Nicholas Biddle was especially effective at taking prizes, so his ascendance in the Continental Navy is quick. He's the only Philadelphia-based captain of that first fleet. He quickly proves his acumen as a captain. He's well respected.
Many of the captains are coming into this who have no background in sailing. They knew somebody who got them that appointment. And then you had people like Biddle who really were captains, who really did understand the art and mystery of navigation, who really did understand how a ship functioned. And that's really what separates out, in my mind, those captains who go on to greatness.
By the start of the Revolution, Charles has established himself as a successful merchant. We have his autobiography that he writes later in life that gives us a lot of information about a lot of the adventures that he experiences during the Revolution. He continues his work as a merchant, but it's not boring. He is a witness to a lot of revolutionary activity. He's present at the reading of the Declaration of Independence. He is traveling quite a bit from New York to North Carolina to South Carolina to visit Nicholas at points, all the way to the Caribbean. So he's very active. He's witnessed to some crazy things, people being burned at the stake and duels. He is imprisoned on a British Royal Navy ship for a time and escapes. So in 1777 and 1778, Nicholas, as commander of the Randolph, is tasked with aiding the South Carolina Navy in seeking to protect Charleston and its port from British privateers. Based on eyewitness reports, Nicholas believes that there are no large Royal Navy ships nearby. He believes the Yarmouth, from what he can see, is a relatively modestly sized commercial vessel that he believes is an enemy vessel, and so he chooses to engage with it. Quickly, as they get closer to it, they realize how wrong they are. No one's quite certain what goes wrong, but it's believed that some sort of cannon fire met with powder, and there was some sort of huge explosion of the Randolph, and I believe there were only 3 survivors, and Nicholas was one of those who were lost on the ship. At the very end of the letter book, there are a couple of manuscripts connected to Nicholas's death. One is a letter from Charles to James. So it's a letter between brothers, and Charles is describing the grief and shock that he's experiencing after hearing about the loss of his beloved brother. And in the letter, he discloses to James that he was actually very close to joining that same fleet that Nicholas was in when he passed. And he tells James that Nicholas actually dissuades him from joining the fleet. One of the reasons being that he said that it'd be too much for their mother to have 2 sons in the same fleet. But he just expresses a lot of regret around not being there with his brother. It's a very poignant letter, especially thinking about 2 brothers who started off their careers at sea together, who part ways and go in different directions during the Revolution, and who had an opportunity to come back together, but unfortunately they were forever separated.